The Alpha King walked through the ruins of the once bustling colony, his heavy boots crunching against the rubble. Dust hung thick in the air, and the smell of smoke and scorched metal made him grimace. He had seen many battlefields in his lifetime, but nothing had prepared him for the silent despair of this place. Buildings that once reached toward the sky now lay broken, streets were torn apart, and the only sounds were the distant cries of those still struggling to survive. He was a man of legends, known across planets as the Alpha King. His strength and courage had led armies to victory countless times. Yet, amidst the chaos, he felt a different kind of responsibility today. Not for conquest, not for honor, but for the people who had nowhere else to turn. As he walked down a cracked street, something small caught his eye. A tiny figure crouched near the remains of a market stall, picking through scraps of food. She was no more than 8 or 9, thin and shivering in tattered clothing. Her large, fearful eyes darted up as he approached, and for a moment she froze, unsure whether to run or stay. The Alpha King stopped a few feet away. He did not reach for a weapon. He did not shout. He only lowered his hand, showing that he meant no harm. "You don't need to be afraid," he said in a calm, steady voice. The little girl stared at him, her chest rising and falling rapidly as she fought her fear. She had been taught to trust no one, to take care of herself, and yet something about this man made her hesitate. He wasn't like the others she had seen. He didn't look cruel, and he didn't look hungry for power. Are you going to hurt me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The Alpha King shook his head. "No, I am here to help." Her small body tensed, but she didn't run. Instead, she slowly stepped closer, curiosity mixing with hunger. The Alpha King reached into his pack and pulled out a small packet of ration bars. "Eat this," he said, holding it out. The girl glanced at the food, then at him. Something inside her stirred, a tiny spark of hope. She had been surviving on scraps for weeks, and the sight of proper food was almost unbelievable. But her instincts told her to be cautious. "Why? Why would you help me?" she asked. He looked down at her, his piercing eyes softening. "Because no child should suffer alone. Because someone has to care." She hesitated, then, with a trembling hand, took the ration bar. She tore it open and began eating hungrily. The Alpha King watched her quietly, careful not to startle her. "Where is your family?" he asked gently. The girl's eyes filled with sadness. I don't know. They were taken when the city was attacked. I've been alone since then." Her voice cracked. "I don't even know if they're alive." The Alpha King felt a strange pain in his chest. The words reminded him of someone he had lost long ago. A memory flickered in his mind, a child he had thought gone forever, separated from him during a previous battle. He shook his head, trying to push it away. "We will find them," he said softly, more to himself than to her. The girl looked up, her eyes meeting his. "Really?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I promise you'll be safe with me." For a moment, the girl's fear seemed to fade. She finished the ration bar and held out the empty wrapper. "Thank you," she whispered. The Alpha King nodded. "You don't have to thank me. Just stay close." He glanced around the ruins. The colony was far from safe. Looters and hostile forces could appear at any moment. He had to get her to a secure settlement before nightfall. "We need to move," he said. "Follow me." The girl hesitated. She had been taught to avoid strangers, to stay hidden. Yet, something in the Alpha King's presence reassured her. She nodded slowly and began walking beside him, keeping a careful distance as they moved through the destroyed streets. The Alpha King couldn't help but notice the little things about her, the way she clutched her thin arms to keep warm, the careful way she stepped over broken glass, the way her eyes scanned every corner for danger. She was small, but her spirit was strong. She reminded him of someone he had once known, though he couldn't yet place it. They reached a collapsed bridge, and the Alpha King helped her across first, supporting her tiny frame. "Almost there," he said. She looked up at him, eyes wide with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. Once across, they found a partially intact building. It wasn't much, but it offered shelter from the wind and the eyes of predators. The girl sank to the floor, exhausted, and the Alpha King set down his pack. "You need rest," he said. "Tomorrow we will find food, water, and a safe place to stay." She nodded, leaning back against the wall. For the first time in weeks, she felt a flicker of safety. She glanced at the Alpha King. I've never met anyone like you," she admitted. He smiled faintly. "A rare expression for the man known as the Alpha King. And you, little one, are tougher than most grown warriors I've known." The girl's eyes widened. "Me? Tough?" "Yes," he said. "You've survived alone when so many others would have given up. That takes courage." For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the distant sounds of the ruined city. The Alpha King thought about the girl's story and the strange feeling she stirred within him. There was something familiar about her, in the way she held herself, the way she looked at him, even the subtle movements of her hands. He couldn't place it, but it tugged at a memory buried deep in his mind. Finally, the girl spoke again, her voice quiet. Do you have a family?" The Alpha King paused. He had a family once, a daughter he had lost during the war, a daughter he thought was gone forever. He didn't answer immediately, instead watching the flickering shadows on the wall. "My family is gone," he said after a moment. "But I have people I protect now, and I will protect you, too." The girl's lips trembled. You promise?" He nodded. "I promise." As night fell, the ruined city grew darker and more dangerous. The Alpha King kept watch while the girl slept, his mind restless. He couldn't shake the feeling that fate had brought her to him for a reason. Something about her presence felt familiar, though he couldn't yet understand why. He remembered the last time he had lost someone he loved, the fear, the guilt, the endless searching. He would not make the same mistake again. Whoever this girl was, he would keep her safe, no matter the cost. When the first light of dawn touched the city, the Alpha King stirred the girl gently. "Time to move," he said. "We have a long journey ahead." She rubbed her eyes and sat up, still tired but ready to trust him. Where are we going?" "To a safe place," he said. "Somewhere you can rest, eat, and be protected. You'll see soon." The girl nodded, a mixture of hope and fear in her eyes. She didn't know that the man guiding her was more than just a protector. He was a hero, a legend, and perhaps the only person in the galaxy who could understand the weight of her past thought as they left the shelter and stepped back into the ruins. The Alpha King's mind raced. He couldn't ignore the tiny details that reminded him of someone from his past. The way she moved, the way she spoke, even the faint resemblance in her eyes. Could it be possible? Could this little Omega girl be the daughter he had thought lost forever? He shook his head. "No," he whispered to himself. "It can't be, can it?" But deep down, he knew that fate had a way of weaving unexpected threads, bringing the lost back to those who had almost given up hope. And for now, he would protect her, guide her, and perhaps, in time, uncover the truth. The journey ahead would be dangerous. Enemies lurked in the shadows, and the path to safety was uncertain. Yet the Alpha King felt a new determination, not as a warrior leading armies, but as a father who would not fail a child again. And somewhere, deep within the ruins of the shattered city, a little Omega girl walked beside the Alpha King, unaware that the man she trusted most might be her father. The sun rose higher, casting light over the destruction, but in that moment, hope flickered. The Alpha King and the girl moved forward together, bound by fate courage and a silent promise of protection. The journey to the safe settlement was long and difficult. The Alpha King led the little Omega girl through forests of twisted metal, across rivers filled with debris, and over crumbling bridges. Every step was a challenge, but he remained vigilant, scanning the horizon for any danger. The girl stayed close, her small hand brushing against his as they walked, drawing comfort from his presence. As they traveled, the girl began to ask questions, curious about the man who had saved her. "Why do people call you the Alpha King?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. The Alpha King smiled faintly, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. "Because I have led armies and protected people in many battles," he said. "But titles do not matter. What matters is doing what is right." She thought about this for a moment. "So, you fight to protect others?" "Yes," he said simply. "And sometimes to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The girl nodded, seeming to understand. She had been forced to survive alone for so long that the idea of someone fighting for others felt almost magical. She had never known safety until now, and with each step, she felt a little braver. The Alpha King noticed small things about her that made his heart tighten. The way she instinctively moved to shield herself, the way she flinched at sudden noises, the way her eyes softened when she looked at him. She reminded him of someone he had once loved dearly, a memory he had tried to bury for years. Could it be possible? Could fate truly have brought this child back to him? They reached a narrow canyon as the sun began to set. Shadows stretched across the rocky walls, making the path ahead look more treacherous than it really was. "Stay close," the Alpha King warned, moving ahead to scout. The girl nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the canyon. From the shadows, a group of scavengers emerged, their weapons crude but dangerous. The girl froze, fear gripping her heart. The Alpha King stepped in front of her, his posture calm but ready. "Stay behind me," he ordered. The scavengers laughed, thinking the little girl alone made her an easy target. They had no idea who they were facing. With swift precision, the Alpha King disarmed two of them, his movements almost like a dance, fluid, strong, unstoppable. The girl watched in awe, her small hand gripping his cloak. She had never seen someone fight with such skill and power. And yet, he did not harm them unnecessarily. Each strike was controlled, meant to protect rather than to destroy. When the last scavenger ran away, groaning in defeat, the Alpha King knelt beside the girl. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head, still wide-eyed. I've never seen anyone fight like that before," she admitted. He smiled softly. "You'll see many things in life, but never forget this. Strength is nothing without honor." They continued their journey under the light of the rising moon. The girl's curiosity grew with every step. "Why? Why do you fight for people you don't even know?" she asked. The Alpha King paused, thinking carefully. "Because no one should suffer if I can stop it. Because even one life matters. And because I understand loss." He looked at her, seeing the tiny spark of understanding in her eyes. For the first time since they met, the girl felt something shift inside her. A feeling she could not name, a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. She leaned a little closer to him, finding comfort in his presence. The next day, they reached the outskirts of a fortified settlement. Guards in sleek armor watched their approach, weapons at the ready. The Alpha King raised his hand in greeting, and the gates opened. Inside, the settlement was bustling with life. People rebuilt homes, shared food, and cared for the injured. It was the first place the girl had seen where people truly helped one another. "Welcome," a guard said respectfully. "You are safe here." The Alpha King nodded. "Thank you. We need shelter and food for this child." He gestured to the girl, who looked around nervously but stayed close to him. As they settled in, the girl explored cautiously. She discovered clean water, warm food, and beds for the first time in weeks. The Alpha King watched her carefully, noting the small changes in her demeanor. Her shoulders relaxed, her steps grew steadier, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity again. Over the next few days, the bond between them deepened. The Alpha King taught her simple survival skills, like identifying edible plants and avoiding dangerous areas. She listened carefully, eager to learn from him. At night, they shared stories. She told him about her life before the attack, and he shared memories of battles and lessons he had learned. But as they spent more time together, small details began to surface. The girl instinctively mimicked his movements when he trained with a staff. She reacted to certain words he used in a way that suggested familiarity. And one day, while cleaning her small pack, she found a medallion with the same crest he wore, a crest only his family would recognize. The Alpha King's heart raced. He had tried to suppress the memory of his lost daughter, but the signs were too strong to ignore. Could it be possible that fate had truly returned her to him? He watched her as she slept that night, her face peaceful, unaware of the storm of emotions swirling in him. The next morning, as they practiced in the training yard, an attack alarm sounded. Raiders had found the settlement and were approaching fast. The Alpha King grabbed his weapon and moved to intercept them, motioning for the girl to stay back. But before she could step aside, one of the raiders lunged toward her. Without thinking, the girl shouted, "Father!" The Alpha King froze. The word hit him like a lightning bolt. He turned to look at her, and in that moment, everything fell into place. The memories, the resemblance, the medallion, it was undeniable. This little Omega girl was his daughter, the child he had thought lost forever. He acted instantly, deflecting the raider's attack and protecting her with his body. In the chaos, she clung to him, relief and fear mingling in her eyes. He held her tightly, his mind racing but his instincts sharp. Every move was precise, every strike calculated to keep her safe. When the raiders finally retreated, the settlement's guards cheered. The Alpha King lowered his weapon and looked at the girl, who was trembling but unharmed. It's really you," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. She blinked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Father?" she asked, her voice filled with hope and disbelief. He knelt down, gathering her into his arms. Yes, me. I thought I lost you forever." The girl clung to him, her small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. I've missed you," she whispered. "And I've missed you," he said, his heart swelling with emotions he had long buried. "But you're safe now. I will never let anything happen to you again." The people in the settlement watched silently, witnessing a rare moment of pure human connection. The Alpha King, the fearless warrior who had faced countless battles, now showed a side of himself that few had ever seen: a father's love, fierce and unwavering. Over the next days, they adjusted to their new life. The Alpha King shared stories of the galaxy, taught her more about survival, and slowly helped her rebuild the confidence and courage she had lost. She, in turn, reminded him of innocence, hope, and the simple joys of life. Their bond grew stronger each day. Together, they trained, explored, and planned for the future. And though the galaxy remained a dangerous place, they faced it together, father and daughter, united by fate, courage, and love. The Alpha King often looked at her and felt a deep gratitude. Fate had returned his daughter to him, not just as a child in need, but as a brave little girl who had survived unimaginable hardships. And he knew, in the depths of his heart, that no challenge, no enemy, and no danger would ever separate them again. The settlement became their home. They rebuilt not just houses, but trust, hope, and family. And though the stars beyond the city still held unknown dangers, the Alpha King and his daughter faced them together, stronger, braver, and bound by an unbreakable bond. And so, The Alpha King, legendary across the galaxy, discovered a new role, not just a protector of worlds, but a father, guiding and loving the little Omega girl who had survived against all odds. She had found her father, and he had found the family he had thought lost forever. Together, they walked into the dawn of a new life, ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store. United by love, courage, and destiny.